Ahead and call the January 2nd Planning Commission meeting to order. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Ahern.
Here.
Bathke.
Here.
Janezer.
Here.
Heisler.
Here.
Staber.
Here.
Willer.
Here.
Yachty.
Here. Agenda item number 2, approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion. I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. We'll move on to agenda item number 3, preliminary subdivision plat. And can we start with the staff presentation?
Sure, this is a pretty straightforward application. I sent these, if you've been out there, you've seen that these buildings are actually constructed. You have the apartment building to the south, and then there's a small commercial building to the north. This subdivision plat will subdivide this into 2 lots to have each of those on separate lots. Property zone C2, and the land use is urban high intensity, so the uses conform to the zoning. Originally, it was zoned PAD, but we've made some adjustments to zoning that I believe, I've got to research it a little bit more, but essentially make those uses conforming. Right now, we've reduced parking standards, and we now allow multifamily with some design requirements to be a permitted use in commercial. But we'll look a little bit further into that, but it's a PAD anyway, so it conforms to that. Here's kind of a subdivision plat. It does have a little bit of a jog. We wanted them to respect parking space lines and not have them bifurcate parking spaces and things like that, so they jogged, and then we needed to meet minimum frontage requirements along Community Drive, but it does meet all the requirements for a commercial lot. So we did have 2 findings, and then staff recommends that you accept those 2 listed findings and forward the request for approval of subdivision plat to the City Council for recommendation for approval.
Thank you. And do we have an applicant presentation for item number 3 tonight? Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, John Marner with MMS Consultants. No particular presentation, just add that, again, the intent was to take that existing lot with the 2 existing buildings, separate it into 2 so they could be individually owned, and we worked with staff to make sure that we were meeting all the setback requirements, ensuring that the parking per the new parking ordinance requirements was provided on each individual lot, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Great, thank you. And do we have any public comment? If so, you can come to the podium and introduce yourself. If not, we'll go ahead and move to questions and comments by the commission members. Anything you want to discuss? Pretty straightforward?
Pretty straightforward. Yep.
Great. If so, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the Planning Commission accept the 2 listed findings and forward the preliminary subdivision plat to the City Council with recommendation for approval.
Thanks, Dave.
I'll second.
And we'll take a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Yachty.
Here, aye.
Sorry about that.
Heisler.
Aye.
Ahern.
Aye.
Staber.
Yes.
Willer.
Aye.
Bathke.
Aye.
Janezer.
Aye.
Great. Moving on, agenda item number 4, another preliminary subdivision plat.
Okay, so this is lot 3 of Solomon's Entertainment District. They were divided into 3 lots. This is the easternmost undeveloped lot at that corner of Jones and Penn. And this preliminary plat would further subdivide this so they could develop the hard corner that we'll see the preliminary site plan on the next agenda item. Again, C2 zoning, urban high intensity on the land use, so the zoning conforms to the land use. The subdivision plat is shown here. Lot 2 is a little bit larger, lot 1 is smaller. We don't anticipate lot 1 to have any access to Hayes Lane to the north or Penn. Lot 2 will only have access to Hayes Lane, and then they'll share access to those other lots to minimize the number of driveway access. So we do have those notes on the preliminary plat. Again, similar, 2 listed findings, and staff does recommend you accept those 2 listed findings and forward the request to the City Council with the recommendation for approval.
Great, thank you. And we'll entertain an applicant presentation on item number 4 as well.
Hello again. Again, nothing really to add here. We did work with staff, as Russ mentioned, to list the access restrictions for both lot 1 and 2 as city staff and the city engineering department requested. And as he noted, it's the subdivision with the intent for a preliminary site plan that's next up on the agenda for Lot 2. And I'm available for any questions on this as well.
Great, thank you. And do we have any public comments? Not, we'll move to the commission. Any questions or comments?
Nothing
I
for
think it's
me.
pretty self-explanatory with the next item coming. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the planning commission accept the two listed findings and forward the preliminary subdivision plat to the city council with a recommendation for approval.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sheila. Can I have a roll call vote for this one, please?
Ahern,
Aye.
Bathke,
Aye.
Willer,
Aye.
Yachty,
Aye.
Staber,
Aye.
Janezer,
Aye.
Heisler.
Aye.
Great, thank you. And then we'll go to agenda item number 5, another preliminary site plan for the situation we were just discussing.
Yes, so this is a preliminary site plan for just over a 9,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial building. This is at the property is located at the northwest corner of North Jones and West Penn Street. Again, zoning C2, urban high intensity on the future land use map. So zoning conforms to the future land use map. Here's the site plan. The only commentary I would offer, these double frontage commercial lots are challenging, and you see a bunch being built over by the Hy-Vee on Coral Ridge Ave. I call it they're oriented toward a different direction than the main street, right? And that's the challenge. So you're looking at the back of the house. I think some of the buildings in Coralville that I've mentioned, some look pretty good, and some others you're like, doesn't look great. Just because you want that to have what's important, I think, to the community. If you're not visiting the site, is how it looks from Jones and how it looks from West Penn. And so I appreciate the developer, Brandon Pratt, and MMS, because we certainly challenged them on the first application that came in and said, look, we really need a better effort on that south facade that's facing West Penn, because this is our primary corridor in the city. And I think they stepped up to that challenge and made some design enhancements on that south facade. So it's never perfect. I'd love for the building to be oriented such that the north facade was the south facade. But that's challenging to do. I know they wanted to situate that building more to the south for visibility based on a tenant that they expect to have there. And so, without really strong language in the code mandating this, you're asking them to do it. And, most local developers, you'll give them credit, want to do the right thing. And I think they stepped up and I think provided something that was acceptable and looks pretty good. So here's kind of the renderings. Looks like this is the north facade. This would be what I would call the front of the house for the customer access. It looks pretty good. A lot of vertical and horizontal elevation change, which I think adds to the interest of the building, and a lot of glazing there. And kind of a ped area for that anchor tenant there to the east. And here's kind of that back of house. Again, that didn't have the glazing and things like that on that south facade. It was really just kind of a blank wall space. So we really challenged them to do that. And they also provided additional landscaping through there. And so that, I think, was, and again, here's another view of kind of what that back, and you could really see those landscape enhancements through there. So again, appreciate the effort of coming back and stepping up. It's good to have those working relationships, and we appreciate those. We did have one listed finding that it achieves consistency with approval standards, and we recommend that you accept that listed finding and forward the request to City Council with a recommendation for approval.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And an applicant presentation on this. I appreciate you coming up for all of them.
No problem. I thought about sitting here, but I don't mind the walk. I would just echo Russ's comments that we made an effort, particularly the architect and the developer, after that initial review, to try to find a solution with the building design towards Penn Street and again towards Jones that really met what the city's expectations were and would be an attractive exterior for that Penn Street corridor, and also fits with the other development that's underway and under construction right now of the Bulldogs and the Pete's Ranch site and the Palestra site. So we think we came up with some good solutions and are excited for this to move forward. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
thank you. And do we have any public comments? If not, we'll move to questions and comments from the commission. My first comment was about traffic. Am I reading this correct, that there's no Jones Boulevard and no West Penn direct driveway from the lot? It's up to Hayes only?
Correct. Yep. So lot, you'll see that's the only access. Though, when lot 1 eventually gets developed, they'll all cross, be able to cross access. And that's also vehicle site. You can kind of see that heavy line on the west that is outside of the boundary, but that's a pedestrian connection. So we also thought about how pedestrians circulate from within the development. So when lot 1 gets developed, to be able to actually, we have those 2 points connected, to be able to walk from this place over to Bulldogs, Pizza Ranch, and the Palestra, and vice versa too. But yeah, this lot only has access to Hayes. Lot 1, there's a note where it has no connection to Hayes, so they'll have to utilize cross-access from those adjacent sites.
With the renderings of the drive-through, that's the one thing I kept looking at, and I like how it was laid out. But because I love using that Jones Boulevard now. I don't know how you guys use that.
Yeah.
Further questions and comments?
I just appreciate the sensitivity to both the east and the south and the facades, and not seeing a blank wall and all the electrical.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Much appreciated.
Because there are a couple buildings where you're just like, oh, I really wish we had done that different. So I don't see any of the utilities on this rendering, but are we still going to see all of the utilities on the back side there?
We may. And you can't get out of utilities being on the building. And it's so what we'll ask is the best we can to be screened. But at some point, you're going to have your utilities that are running down for most likely West Penn or Jones. And and these are separate tenant spaces. So I would expect you're going to see something on that south facade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to mislead you.
Right. I pass a building practically every day where I'm just like, oh, I really wish we would do some sort of screening or something there, right? But I greatly appreciate the applicant and the city working together to find some better solution to at least address it in a way to make it a very appealing building that, something that we want to pass every day. And I think what's happening there is a real benefit to the city. So.
For this
I appreciate
artery
it.
of our community, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really picking up.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay. Well, then I'd be open to entertain a motion.
I'll move that the Planning Commission accept the listed finding and forward the preliminary site plan to the City Council with a recommendation for approval.
I'll second.
Thank you. And could I have a roll call vote, please?
Bathke,
Aye.
Willer,
Aye.
Yachty,
Aye.
Ahern,
Aye.
Janezer,
Aye.
Staber,
Aye.
Heisler.
Aye.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for your patience on your submissions. Item number 6, approval of the previous minutes. Do I have any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm open to a motion for that approval.
I'll move to approve the previous minutes.
I'll second it.
Great. I have a motion and a second. All in favor for approving, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Old and new business. Ryan.
Got nothing. We expect another preliminary site plan coming in next month. But that's it. That's all we have.
I watched that Aldi's going up quick, and all of the Solomon area too. So
Yeah, 2023 was an interesting year. I will share this information with you, but I kind of looked at the number of building permits we had throughout the year. We were obviously down on single family and two family, which we kind of expect with the way interest rates were. We were up on the total number of residential units, and that was because of the number of multifamily units we see, particularly in the Solomon's Landing development. So I think it put us over 300 for the year, which was higher than we've been in the past several years. But it just kind of shows you how these things ebb and flow. Sometimes you're up on single family, and that's the way we were a couple of years ago, and you're down and you're up. So, and we saw a lot more commercial development, I think, in 2023. So it was a pretty good year.
thank you. If there are no further announcements or discussions, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Second, motion second. Thank you. We're adjourned.